Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Capcan and this is going to be a build guide for Shockwave Totem Hierophant in 3.22 Trial of the Ancestors League. This build is a very high damage build against bosses. There are many variations of the build and of the skill itself, so Hierophant Shockwave Totem is a very popular combination of skills plus skill plus ascendancy. It is a very powerful one. And it is well known for more than a year or maybe a couple of years as being a reliable boss killer, a reliable build, which makes this a classic, I guess. But in this particular case, we are gonna have something close to 40 million DPS, and we are still sustaining some good, effective hit pool. There are builds for the Shockwave Totem where you do have something like 5 or 6k effective hit pool, but your DPS is through the roof. It's like 200 million and stuff. This is not the case here. We are not using any mage bloods, headhunters, no crazy gear. There are some high priced pieces, of course, but you can manage to play without them while you're getting your currency to get this build going. So the build itself is reliant on physical damage shockwave totems that deal pretty massive amounts of damage to bosses. It is good in Sanctum if you want to farm it as well. It's just in general a very reliable totem build, which says most about it. If you're not into the playstyle, well, then it's probably not for you, but in general it's a powerful build, and I guess it's time for us to check out the POB. We're gonna start from talent tree. I'm gonna look at jewels as well, then skills and items, with me trying to get a little bit at least on the pricing of items as well. So we are starting as Templar, of course. We're going for all the life nodes, mostly, for some additional attributes and cast speed, some additional armor, resistances. Of course, we are interested in increased effect of non-curse auras. We are going for more totem talents, then critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier. As you can see here, we do have 100% chance to crit, which means crit strike multiplier is very important for us. We're going for ancestral bond, of course we do, as it's a standard for all totem builds. Then we are getting some good and pretty pricey tattoos as well, like this one, +1 to level of all strength skill gems. And we're going for cluster jewel as well, where we are gonna get additional physical damage, some armor, as you can see here as well. Chance to deal damage, deal double damage is important too. Then one small cluster jewel. One medium cluster jewel is for totems, and you have onslaught if you have summoned totem recently as well, and otherwise it's just totem placement speed, cast speed, attack speed, and and other one is for critical strike chance. With your crit strikes have chance to deal double damage as well, and otherwise just increases to damage and stuff. Then we're going for, of course, power charge nodes, more health, more totems, more power charges, additional jewels lockets. This jewel will gonna go in a second. Then we are taking herald talents, which are very good for us as well. Here we are stacking more devotion from these nodes, as you can probably see. Then we are going for Eldritch Battery. We are getting again increased effect of non-curse auras, and an ability to apply additional curse as well. So here as our militant faith, we are taking timeless jewel militant faith with high Templar dominus, which gives us inner conviction in turn, and inner conviction gives us more spell damage per power charges, and we generate power charges instead of frenzy charges. And there's the main thing per devotion here is non-curse auras effect. That's mostly it. And the regular jewels, it's Watcher's Eye, as you can see here, with hatred, and as well hatred, as you can see here, we are using Hatred and Zealotry. Hatred scales very well with physical damage, giving you extra cold damage. That's why we are getting all these nodes as well. They both give us a bit of devotion, of course, and they increase our cold damage. That is going to be scaling our damage that we get from Hatred. Yes, and here on Watcher's Eye we are taking plus base chance to critical strike while affected by Hatred, and some additional armor while affected by Determination. And as you can see here, we are using Determination as well. There are a bunch of different auras that we are utilizing in this build. But yeah, in general, I guess that's when we are finishing with the talent tree. Then our Ascendancy one is Conviction of Power, Arcane Blessing, Pursuit of Fate, and Ritual of Awakening. So the totem nodes, the power charges and endurance charges nodes, and stuff like that, and Arcane Blessing for Arcane Surge, granting us more spell damage and gaining Arcane Surge when you or your totems hit an enemy with a spell. So basically you will have Arcane Surge constantly up on you. Yeah, now let's go to the skills. So the Shockwave Totem itself. As you can see here, we do have Awakened Cold Penetration here. So Shockwave Totem itself, it's Divergent quality. Here you can see 40% of physical damage converted to cold damage as well, which is how we, again, even more of our damage gonna be dealt converted to cold. We do have Awakened Cold Penetration. Then Empower. It's quite an expensive one with multiple totems, and it's divergent as well, so increased totem damage in here. Then with Anomalous, supported skills Anomalous increased critical damage, which has some additional crit strike chance. So yeah, multiple totems, increased crit damage, and increased crit strikes. Then as our first auras that are placed in our helmet, we are using Enlighten level 4 with Determination, Grace, and Herald of Purity. Yeah, nothing special. The second is going to be in our shield. As you can see here, yeah, Sovereign Spiked Shield. It's again Enlighten. It's going to have additional levels from the item. And then it's Anomalous Zealotry. Anomalous Zealotry gives us some additional critical strike multiplier, and Hatred, of course, that gives us more cold damage, that gives us fizz damage as extra cold damage, which is going to be a very powerful combination for us to have. Then we are using Haste as our Divine Blessing skill with Inspiration increased duration, so it's going to be your active buff. As our additional stuff, it's Molten Shell that you cast by yourself, and Flame Dash for you to dodge stuff. Arcanist Brand with Frostbite, Ele Weakness, and Frost Bomb to cast the cold exposure, of course, on enemies. Frostbite and Ele Weakness are just gonna decrease enemies' elemental resistance, nothing special. And yeah, Commandment of Reflection is just an enchant on our gloves. So now let's go to the items. Which items are the most pricey in here? It's definitely a weapon, it's definitely a helmet, and an amulet. So weapon itself, you can see here, plus 2 levels of spell skill gems, one of physical, second of general, increased crit strike chance, very high cast speed, high spell damage, some additional of non-chaos damage as extra chaos, which is good and all, and the crit strike multiplier on a base on an imperial skin that gives us a critical strike chance. So yeah, this is going to be a very, very this is the one of the slots where you can go far and beyond in terms of your spendings, going more than 50, 60, 70 divines, but you can live without it. You can have more moderate weapon and just have less damage. So it's not a build enabling by any means. Then our shield here has socketed gems, have increased reservation efficiency, crit strike chance for spells, a little bit of life, plus 2 to level of socketed support gems, and plus 1 to maximum number of summoned totems. This this can be somewhat non-cheap, of course, and probably to be honest, nothing here is cheap. Everything is moderate price, and then there's some items that are very, very expensive. But yeah, here that's why we do have in our shield our other reservation stuff, because we do have here increased reservation. We do have +2 to levels for that work on Enlighten as well. That work on Enlighten basically here, yeah. Then with our helmet we do have our Herald of Purity enchant, increased mana reservation efficiency of skills as Eldritch Implicit, ally weakness curse effect, +4 to aura and AoE gems if combined, then some resistance, increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, and in general it has pretty high energy shield as well, that we need for us to cast things because we use Eldritch Battery. So yeah, this is a very, very expensive piece of gear, but you can play with without as much +2 levels. Probably mana reservation efficiency you want to keep because as much as possible, because you still need to use all auras, but +2 levels it will just give you additional damage and defenses. Yeah, maybe less energy shield. Maybe without enchant it's going to be a bit less of a price to pay. Then Skin of the Lords is our main 6 link. It gives you yeah, you can only socket corrupted gems in this. It gives us Iron Wheel, and otherwise increased global defenses, of course, and +2 to level of socketed gems, which is very, very important. Okay, then with our gloves, it's inflict cold exposure and hit, it's chance to unnerve enemies for 4 seconds and hit, then resistances, fist damage conversion to cold, again additional one here, and otherwise just some evasion because we are using both Grace and determination, and we want to have them as much as possible. As you can see here, we are not even counting our flasks in calculations. Yeah, then with our boots, we do have here some chance to avoid ally elements, increased cast speed if you've killed recently as enchant. Otherwise, resistances, maximum movement speed, more chance to avoid elemental ailments, and just some armor, energy shield if possible. We allocating charisma as our anointment on the amulet, and the amulet itself is pretty pricey as well. It has percentage increase to attributes, critical strike multiplier, much cast speed, +1 to level of all skill gems, +1 to level of all fist skill gems, and otherwise some attributes as well. That's a talisman here for its, as you can see here on the implicit. So yeah, it is a powerful one. It gives you a bunch of damage and a bunch of attributes. Then with our rings, we do have chance to avoid elemental ailments here as an implicit. Then otherwise, so yeah, you basically want to get some elemental ailments immunity through all these avoidances and stuff. But if you don't manage to do so, you still can live through pantheons and flasks and mods on flasks and stuff. But yeah, otherwise here we do have cast speed, crit strike multi. Again, all these things are very important. +1 to minimum frenzy charges, because again, yeah, it's gonna work as intended, and some maximum life as well. Then our second ring is Astral Projector, which again gives you a bit of resistances, a bit of attributes, a bit of spell damage, chance to avoid elemental ailments. Then Nova spells have less area of effect. Nova spells have deal less damage to players with hits and ailments. Nova spells cast at the targeted location instead of around you. So basically this way you can your totems can not attack or cast things only around them, and they're gonna target enemies, which is very, very powerful and important here. Okay, now then for the belt, it's Arn's Anguish. which baseline gives you armor, resistances, +2 endurance charges, and then converts all your endurance charges to brutal charges. Brutal charges give us, again, damage and stuff. Then hatred increased aura effect, and some additional hits against nerfed enemies have increased spell critical strike chance, which is quite powerful as well. And then with our flasks, it's just general eternal life flask, so it's not an instant one, it's not a divine life flask. That removes curses, because you don't really need to remove corrupted blood, as we do have immunity to corrupted blood on our jewel, and otherwise it just life regen. Then we do have a silver flask with onslaught and movement speed, then quicksilver flask for increased movement speed and evasion rating, overflowing chalice. That gives you, it's a sulfur flask as baseline, it gives increased damage and stuff, but otherwise increased charges gained by other flasks during effect. This is the main use of it. And otherwise amethyst flask that gives us increased armor and some chaos res as well. And then with regular jewels, maybe I didn't I didn't show them. So corrupted blood immunity we do have here, then otherwise spell damage, totem damage, and some additional resistances. Global fist damage works as well, crit strike multiplier works as well, and yeah, that's it. That's mostly it about the build. So when it comes to our helmet, amulet, and weapon, it can cost you way over 100 divines, but otherwise all the other pieces are gonna be way cheaper. They're not gonna be cheap just in general, but at this point of the league, probably 40-50 divines that you can spend on the rest and on moderate pieces in these places are gonna be more than fine. Otherwise you can ramp the cost of many things in here way more, and that's basically it. This is this build. Hope you enjoy the content. Subscribe to the channel if you want more. Have fun. Bye.